Hello, we are the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Chip.
My name is Brian.
Last episode, we began talking about Part 3, entitled King, from Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. And if you haven't watched that one yet, we invite you to hit that link up there, check that out, and then come back and view this. We will give you 5 seconds in which to do this. Alright, done. Okay, so let's talk about that last chapter, right? Oof. Everybody's kind of gathering at the assembly hall.
Yeah, this is like a mini Sanderland where it's like all this stuff was building through Part 3 and then boom.
And, Elend, after, I think, Vin didn't even tell him about Demo or whatever.
No, didn't have time.
He just came up with the idea that he was going to align himself with the Church of the Savior, which he thought would throw some ska his way, which turns out it didn't.
Some.
Well, not enough.
They never really got to vote here.
That's a good point.
But they did vote later.
They voted later.
Yes.
And
because it was when he was up there speaking is when the attack came.
Yeah, he was up speaking at the podium, and Vin was like, "Wait a minute,
doesn't feel right."
And I'm gonna have the same critique I had when we read Mistborn. When we get into these battles,
that was a long time ago.
It was, but I remember grumbling about this. But I read these battle descriptions, and for the life of me, I cannot follow them.
Yeah,
they're tough. They're tough.
Can't.
You said the same thing about Ender's Game too, where they were doing the battle scenes, and it's hard to keep track of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't disagree. There's so much going on, and it's like she's here, then she's there, then she's over here, and she's gonna throw these coins, and she's gonna burn this, and then she's gonna do that. It just you get and kind of wraps my mind into knots, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
And it's not as bad as some I've read. It's not purely clinical and technical. He interjects what she's seeing and what she's feeling and how she's reacting to situations, right? So
it's just the battle scenes, when you go back to The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, they're so short. There's so much other stuff in there that makes it such a rich read. But the Balrog scene is one page. In the movie it makes for a great scene that lasts for a while. But but I don't know if that's some of this too, or you try to embellish with the action, but it doesn't always work.
So
this is good.
This is an interesting scene in my opinion, because I actually thought this was a 10-minute fight, and then we find out that from the time that the battle started to the time Vin finished off the fight, that's when Ham was finally able to make it up to the front.
Yeah.
So he was in the audience, and by the time he actually made it up, so we're talking a minute, if even. So it took me longer to read the section than it took for it to play out.
Well, and anytime you talk to medieval experts or historical experts about war and duels and things like that, they'll tell you the movies that depict these super long duels are fabricated, because a true duel, whether it's with a sword or anything else, is literally seconds.
Wow.
And so that kind of ties into what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
It's it seems like this huge drawn out thing in the book, but in reality, dude has to get from here 20 feet that way.
Yep.
And it's done.
Yeah, and it kind of juxtaposes with the whole siege of the city too, where you've got this month-long siege where it's not even a siege really, but all the armies camped around the city and all this tension is building up, and then you have a scene like this where it's just over, and done.
And I think as an author you kind of have to balance. You're I think I could get away with doing a page for the Balrog like Tolkien did, but I think there's a percentage of the readers that want the confrontations and these battles to be protracted, drawn out.
They want the violent and the unusual deaths. And the real decapitations that which is what Sanderson did here with Vin, and this is the first time Elend's ever really seen her in this mode, where she's lethal, and he's a little taken aback by holy crap.
Well, especially that last move.
Yeah, when she broke the guy's head, basically off, wasn't it?
Yeah. But
the other thing I like though that Sanderson did here is he kind of put restrictions on Vin too, because she could have easily taken him out without a problem if she didn't mind hurting people, innocent people that were just kind of sitting there.
That's
but
a good
because
point.
she wanted to protect the innocent, she kind of changed her tactics.
Yeah.
So.
And the whole like Elend's reaction to seeing her like this and him being shaken and just kind of like, holy crap, I think that's good, because as a spoiled noble kid, he wouldn't have seen any of that.
No.
Right.
He buried his face in books all day and defied everything his father wanted him to do. So this is like this level of...
Well, and to his knowledge, he didn't have a Mistborn in the family, so he didn't
Right.
know
Right.
what somebody like this could be capable
Right.
of doing.
So I think it's perfectly logical, and I think it's great that it's being called out, because, you know, somebody who's never been exposed to that level of violence, the first time they're seeing it, I mean, I'm surprised he wasn't thrown up on the floor.
Right. That's a good point.
But the dueling classes he was taking did help
That
him
helped.
to survive.
Yes.
Which I like how, you know, Vin was in action, you know, action, action, action. Oh, look, he's still alive. He's holding up better than I thought.
He's so
action,
cute.
action, action. It just, yeah.
Yeah.
Her reaction to it was pretty funny, which, thank goodness, it does make sense for King to have some sort of hand-to-hand combat skills or swordsmanship, but yeah, it was a
Agreed.
really intense scene.
Yeah.
It was.
I don't know, when I read this, I picture, maybe like the Flash or Quicksilver or even Spider-Man when his Spidey sense is going off, and he's moving like in, you know, everything's in slow motion, but he's moving really fast. It's kind of how I picture Vin, you know, like reacting to everything. And
that kind of
maneuvering.
explains how this scene takes 7 or 8 pages to cover, 25 seconds?
Yeah.
Less than a minute of fighting. So.
And like they survive this thing, right? And they come through, and then they're like, oh, hey, by the way, you're supposed to go here because they're going to vote.
We're still going to vote for King.
Jeez.
You don't vote for King.
But, and Elend makes a good point. It's like, hey, if they don't do it tonight, the 30 days elapses and I'm automatically king in by default.
Right.
So I'm not surprised they're doing this.
Were you surprised at who won?
Yes.
I was too. Because I think everything was set up for Cett to be...
Yeah, and he just kind of
named,
disappeared.
And then all of a sudden it's Penrod.
Yeah. Was Cett even at the vote?
I don't think he
I don't think he was.
I don't think so either.
Which might be part of it.
And Jerky Ska dude, Pilfer,
merchant,
Phelan.
Yeah,
him.
Yeah.
He ended up voting for Penrod.
Yep.
After he went to the trouble of
Well,
setting
what were
up
there?
Cett
Because
as a
they ended up
contender.
doing one round of voting, and then a couple people changed their vote. And it was a 2/3 vote for Penrod. Was what I remember it ended up being.
And Penrod was a better choice than Cett, in my opinion.
Well, we think so.
We think.
I mean, I would
On the
argue
surface, Penrod
Penrod was the one that
is mentally
at the
unhinged.
was it the first meeting that we had at the beginning of this part when Elend basically named him, you know, like the chair of the meeting
the
or
chancellor, the chair of the meeting or whatever.
Yeah, that, you know, basically, but it was a move that he was basically showing that, you know, his goodwill towards this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it seemed like that's who Elend almost wanted to have.
Yeah.
If it's
if
not
had
going to be me,
anybody,
I want it to be this guy.
And he would know, having dealt with the assembly and living in the city for as long as he has, right?
Yeah.
Well, he was the most noble of the noblemen. I think he was the highest ranking nobleman left.
Yeah.
But he also was, at least from Elend's perspective, the most honorable man that was there. Mm-hmm. So it made perfect sense. But the problem is, you know, do you want the enemy that you don't know or the enemy that you know? Like, we don't know anything about Penrod, honestly, other than he seems like he's a good person, but we know Cett's motives.
Well, we don't know that he's a good person.
Right.
We know that
Elend has a history, though, or he knows of him.
We assume that he carries some sort of code of honor, where Cett clearly has none.
Yeah,
correct.
And if you think about it, though, I mean, Cett's the outsider. So Cett's from the northern dominance,
western. Anyway, a long ways away.
Yeah, one of the directional dominances.
One of the places where they grow beards.
Yes.
Yeah, but Penrod is from Luthadel.
He is.
So
yes.
and his
that makes
family's
sense.
from Luthadel, so he knows Luthadel.
And I wonder if Elend is maybe hoping, if Penrod is king, if he still might be able to influence events somehow, like serve as like an advisor or something like that.
Yeah, could be.
So. But I still go. So I have I've read I haven't read much past where we ended up stopping, but you do wonder with Cett, you know exactly what you're getting. You know that he is going to be a strong leader. He's not going to be a good leader by any stretch, but he is going to probably bring some sort of order. Will Penrod be able to have the same control over the dominance? Well, who does he serve? Does he serve himself? Does he serve someone else? Does he work? Is he a friend of the Lord Ruler? Is the Lord Ruler coming back with the Well of Ascension? I don't know. But,
something just occurred to me.
Okay.
So, Chip, I think it was maybe you in the last episode mentioned how Vin suspected that Cett might be Mistborn.
Yes.
So, do you think there might be some merit to that, and that is how Cett was managing to control the Koloss army?
Cett wasn't controlling the Koloss army.
Oh, no.
No, that was
Who's
Jace's.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Legal.
Got it. You know, that revelation was more impressive in my head.
Yeah.
Until you shattered it. I'm going to drink more whiskey.
But that is a good point. I do think that Cett possibly being Mistborn, Vin touched on that at least twice.
Yeah,
she was
her suspicion is there that...
Yeah.
Because they went to dinner at... Yeah. And Cett moved into the whatever...
Her and Elend visited
home
him.
there.
And that would have been something I never would have considered.
No.
Right. That just came out of nowhere when she said that. I was like...
No, but I thought she made a comment then that she was surprised that he put his allomancers out in
as the
public. You know, they were very present.
Yeah.
Sure.
He wasn't hiding it. So
yeah.
Which I thought even made her believe more that there was something up with him.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I must have missed that. Okay, so Penrod is king.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot, I lost my thing. We are
We're
on
the Dr. Sue podcast.
We are the Dr. Sue podcast.
Wasn't sure what you were looking for.
We are up to chapter 39. This is part 4 entitled Knives, and we'll be covering that next episode. It goes through chapter 48, so it is...
I think it's about the same length as this last one.
It is. There's 6 parts in this book, so we are soon to be entering, if we have not already entered, the Sanderlynch.
We're getting there. We're building to it.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have been enjoying this as much as we have. We would love for you to sound off in the comment section once again. What did you like? What didn't you like? What did maybe we miss or misinterpret from the book? Please hit the subscribe button. The bell notification will let you know when we post new content. And as always, a thumbs up is appreciated. Thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you next time. And until then...
Allons-y.